कृपासिन्धुभ्यः पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Thakur ki Jai. So today we're reading from chapter 4 entitled Transcendental Knowledge. This is the chapter in which after Krishna explains in chapter 3 that we must see the reality as it is. He now describes in chapter 4 how to start the process. In verse number 2 he says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarishyo vidu sakalaneha hata yoga nashta param tapa. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Reported by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupad ki Jai. It is clearly stated that the Bhagavad Gita was especially meant for saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Certainly, the Bhagavad Gita was never meant for demoniac persons who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretations according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish the disciplic succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord Himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore He declared that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment, also there are so many editions of the Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplic succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krishna. This spirit is demoniac, because demons do not believe in God, but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of the Gita in English, as it is received by the Parampara disciplic succession system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill that great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity. But if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculations, it is simply a waste of time. Om Jnana Tasya Jnana Shalaka Chakshurunam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Vishnu Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Namo Krishna Guru Swami. So on this trip, I thought that once every so often we should actually revisit what is the purpose of ISKCON. Why was ISKCON set up by Srila Prabhupada, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness? After all, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya was existing. What was the need for the International Society of Krishna Consciousness to be set up? So I'm going to do a bit of a presentation that explains that. And the presentation is entitled Understanding ISKCON, an educational look at Srila Prabhupada's movement. Because this is a unique movement. This is unlike any other movement. Prabhupada set it up in a very unique way. And if we study the history of how this movement started, it starts with Radharani creating Navavrindavan, which because it had 9 islands became known as Navadvipa, which today we know as Sri Mayapur Dham. So this is Radharani's Vrindavan. Srimad Dham, and it is the Dham in which we love Krishna, we show our love to Krishna in separation. In Vrindavan we show it in union, what is called Sambhoga Prema, but in Mayapur we show it in Vipralamba Bhava, which is in separation. So, so what we will discuss tonight, there are a number of topics. The first is our founder Acharya. Our founder Acharya is Srila Prabhupada. This is the first time ever in the history that this word was used in this combination. And it actually goes back to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but he used it, he called himself the founder president. But he does use that word once or maybe twice in his writings. And Prabhupada picked up on this because he wanted to establish that what he was setting up was totally unique, that had never been done in the past before. And that is why it is very important to know what ISKCON is about and how to behave in ISKCON, how to live in ISKCON. Because if we don't, then we'll miss the boat. We miss the ISKCON boat. This is a very special boat. And if we behave in any other way, then you're jumping off that boat. And then yes, you can be inside ISKCON, but you're really not an ISKCON devotee. And so I thought we should learn this. It's a very important part of our sampradaya. As the GBC has figured out, many people don't have this understanding. And so now courses will be designed to show the founder Acharya's position, Srila Prabhupada's position. Then the next thing we'll talk about is the Governing Body Commission. This is a very seismic movement made by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Prior to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the system was that there would be an Acharya, and the Acharya would have many disciples. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur understood that at that time, he is the first one to have come out with this idea that giving Babaji initiation was not going to work. Because in Babaji initiation, what happens is, when you get to initiation, you are told who you are in the spiritual world. Now, you have to be a very high caliber person to know who you are in the spiritual world to behave like that. And so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, who will we serve? Who will we reach out to in this movement? But this is a very rare achievement to get Babaji initiation. So he changed it to Harinam Diksha. And because he knew that in the future, there will be no capable persons to be Acharya so easily appearing, he actually asked that a governing body commission be formed so that it represents the Acharya. And the governing body commission is the Acharya as far as the International Society of Krishna Consciousness is concerned. And Prabhupada was the first one to have set it up, the first amongst the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And we will see later on how this became so successful that other religious movements are studying ISKCON right now to figure out how it is that ISKCON became so successful in such a short period of time. Then comes the structure of ISKCON. Prabhupada set up the structure in a very specific way. Prabhupada was brilliant beyond compare. As we are learning more and more about why what Prabhupada said was right, and why we can't change the system, we're understanding the extreme brilliance of Srila Prabhupada and his great spiritual foresight. He could see this movement for the next 10,000 years. I mean, that's an amazing vision. I mean, most of us can't see the next 5 minutes in terms of our vision. But he could see the next 10,000 years. This is like, it's a mind-boggling idea. It's hard for any of us to understand that, honestly speaking, what it means that a movement will last 10,000 years in the pristine condition in which Prabhupada set it up himself. He didn't want it to deviate. He wanted it to go straight down the center, 10,000 years. 10,000 years, as it is. So we will see that structure. And then, this is a movement of very many cultures. Many movements are there in this world, many religious movements. But you will see that those religious movements, they set up their church in such a way that one particular category of culture will come to their church. And if there's another major category of culture, they'll set up a second church for them, so that the cultures don't so much mix. Why? Because the cultures have such different ways of doing things. When you mix all the cultures together, it creates, in a sense, a little bit of a havoc. Because, you know, what according to the Indians is the right way to do things, maybe according to the Americans, the wrong way to do things. Now, if you bring them two together, then you're asking for conflict. But Prabhupada set up a synthesis so nicely that it is brilliant. He was able to bring all the cultures together in the same temple. And all of the temples of ISKCON are like that. They're multicultural. Of course, there may be predominance of a particular culture in a temple, but the temple is accessible to everybody. Then we will talk about ISKCON law. This is what governs the ISKCON movement, ISKCON law, and I'll talk a little about that. Then we'll talk about the importance of cooperation. Prabhupada's dying wish was, if you want to show your love to me, show it by cooperating. And if we don't cooperate, Prabhupada said, that is material life. That is why we're in the material world, because we're not cooperating, we're conflicting. He said that even in the spiritual world there are differences, but people do not fight. They actually cooperate with the authority system. They know exactly how it works, who to listen to, and how to do things. And they have no problems following, and therefore they're in the spiritual world. Here, we have big problems following. We don't like to accept authority. We like to think, I am authority, and I am going to set it up. And me and my friends, we're going to figure it out, and we're going to take over the temple. We're going to take over the movement. It's not going to happen. Please understand that. Never going to happen. Prabhupada set it up so brilliantly. At one time, Prabhupada even said this, that the movement cannot be destroyed from outside. It can only be destroyed from the inside. But today, the movement is so big that even from the inside it cannot be destroyed. This is such a powerful movement, and we'll be seeing how that happens. The next is ISKCON's unprecedented success, like I was saying. There is no movement in the first 50 years. By the way, we've not reached our first 50 years yet. The first 50th year of ISKCON will be in 2016. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON, was set up in 1966. In 2016, we'll be celebrating our first 50th year. Now, religious movements are studied in 50-year cycles. In the first cycle of ISKCON, it has achieved such high success that it has broken all the markers of any other religion in the past first 50 years of that religion. So, we'll be talking a little about that. And then comes Srila Prabhupada's special position. What is Prabhupada's position? Prabhupada is the Acharya of ISKCON for the next 10,000 years. Please try to understand. He is the major, and I keep going on like that, wherever, guru of our movement. He is the one guru at whose feet all other gurus sit. In fact, I can honestly say that it is at the dust of Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet that all other gurus sit for the next 10,000 years. Please understand this position, because if you do not understand this position, you are not an ISKCON person. You will not understand what ISKCON is all about. And then, you miss the boat. This is a rare opportunity, very rare opportunity. It appears once in every 8,640,000,000 years. That's how rare this opportunity is. So please pay attention. I know you're already paying attention. I really appreciate that, because please try to understand what Prabhupada did is so incredibly unprecedented. We should know what it's about. Then we'll become humble. We will understand it's not about me. It is about the deities. It's about Shri Shri Radha Madhava. This is his temple. When we say that do not give money to the temple, you're saying do not give money to Radha Madhava. When you say, do not cooperate with the temple, you're saying, do not cooperate with Srila Prabhupada, who actually is the #1 servant of Radha Madhava Hari. Who do you think in this temple is 24/7 present, always serving Radha Madhava Hari? Who? Who is it? Who is sitting here 24/7? Every day of the year, every year of this movement, who is sitting here? It's Srila Prabhupada. Please try to understand. He's sitting there. And look what he's doing. He's looking at the deities. And he's in darshan of the deities. And actually, he controls the temple. He controls this movement. If anybody else thinks somebody else is controlling this movement, you better have another thought about it. And we'll show you how Prabhupada controls this temple. And if anybody fights against the temple, they're fighting God. Do not do that under any circumstance. Better to leave. I'll tell you one story. I did fight as well. I fought with my temple president. And my temple president banned me from the temple for 3 years. Although he said, look, I'll negotiate with you. Maybe for 2 years you can go. Leave the temple. But I was so mad at myself for having disturbed Srila Prabhupada's temple, for having fought with the temple president who Prabhupada said is the supreme power in the local temple. I decided to add 2 more years to his 3 years and made it 5 years. I left for 5 years. And every one of those 5 years, every person I met, I told them, please go to the Dallas temple. It's the best temple. Please serve Radha Kalachandji. They're the best deities. Please serve Srila Prabhupada. He's the best acharya. I never once said I had a problem with my temple president. Then on the 5th anniversary, by the way, my temple president also said through other people that he would rather I don't even stay in Texas. Not only banned from the temple, he said you can't even stay in Texas. And he said I would prefer that you don't also stay in neighboring state of Texas. Make sure you're in the 3rd state or somewhere further away like that. That's how much he didn't like me. And on the 5th anniversary, on the anniversary of the last day of the 5th anniversary of my Banvas, of my having to go away from the temple, he called me and said, from tomorrow, you are the temple president of Dallas. And I said, what? You just kicked me out of the temple. Now you're telling me to become the temple president of Dallas? Are you sure you're okay? You know, do you need to visit a shrink or something? I mean, how am I going to become temple president when everybody hates me now? Everybody thinks I'm the worst person on the planet. How am I supposed to? No, you have to become. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not becoming temple president of Dallas. So my spiritual master called me and he said, come to Houston, because he knew I would not come to Dallas. He said, come to Houston, I'd like to talk to you. I said, Maharaj, I don't want to become temple president. He said, no. We want to talk about your spiritual life. You come to Houston. Went to Houston, 5 other devotees were sitting there, Maharaj, myself, 7 of us. First thing he says to me, you will be the temple president of the Dallas temple from today. I said, Maharaj, please, I do not want to be the temple president. He said, all right, you see that door? You can walk out of that door, and as soon as you walk out of that door, you're no longer my disciple. Now you can do whatever you like. You're free. Since you're so smart, you know what you need to do. Why you need me as a guru? Walk out of the door and be happy. So I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm not going to need my guru. Didn't come here to need my guru. So then I acquiesced to this idea, but it's very difficult. If you see my photograph of the first day I became temple president, and you look at me now, you will think that photograph is of my son. Jet black hair, full head of hair, very young looking, and now you can see what I look like. Very old, gray hair, thinning hair, looking like an old, sickly person. But that's what it takes. This service is not an easy service. It's a very difficult service. Then, this is our founder, Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada set up this movement in a way that he knew that Rupa Goswami wanted it. It was a very particular thing. There's a particular type of a rasa. There are many rasas. There are 5 rasas, and in the 5 rasas there are many different sub-rasas. And there are many Gavicharis of different style rasas. Don't worry about these terms. But what it means is that there are many different ways Krishna is served in Brajamala. Prabhupada wanted a particular style that was most pleasing to Radharani. Remember, his father would always say, whenever any saintly person come to his house, he would say, please bless my son, so that he will become a nice servant of Radharani. So Prabhupada wanted that to happen. He wanted to set up the most perfect system for serving Radharani. And so he set up this system, and he called himself Founder Acharya. There are some disciples here of Prabhupada. Any disciples here of Prabhupada? Put your hand up. Okay, 1. Alright. Would you agree that if you didn't write A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Thakur, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Founder Acharya for the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, in any letter that you sent out from ISKCON, would you agree that Srila Prabhupada would get very angry? Yes? He would get very angry. Why you didn't put Founder Acharya? He wanted to make sure that we understood this point. He wasn't proud of being founder Acharya. Prabhupada was never proud. When asked, Prabhupada, you are the perfect devotee of Krishna, he said, no. He said, I am actually trying to become a servant of Krishna. I am trying to become a servant of Krishna. He was very, very humble. He would always credit any of his successes to his spiritual master. Even his own disciples, he called them associates of his spiritual master, which means on the level of his spiritual master. His own disciples. He was so humble. But he insisted. Why? He knew unscrupulous persons will come and try to change ISKCON. But they can't change Prabhupada. So Prabhupada set himself in such a way that you can't change it. It's too bad, too late. He's already gone, he's already set up the system, it's all entrenched, it's written, Prabhupada's words are there, his disciples are there to confirm it. And now it will continue as how Prabhupada wanted it. So then he set up this governing body commission of 35 devotees we have. They're very senior devotees, these 35 governing body commissioners. And they are actually the ultimate managing or ecclesiastic authority of ISKCON. They are the Acharya combined together. And they're comprised of leaders from around the world, from different countries of the world. So Prabhupada was very brilliant how he set it up. So there is a lot of differences of ideas. These 35 hardly agree on anything when they start their discussions. But by the end of the discussion, they're on one point. They come to a consensus. And until they come to a consensus, they keep going. Which is why sometimes you will hear that ISKCON takes a long time deciding anything. The reason it takes a long time is because it wants consensus amongst the GBCs. If there is no consensus, they'll keep talking about it until they come to a consensus. Very strong.